Hello, folks. It's me again, Amanda Enderman, your trusty tour guide in the wonders of the wonderful city, also known as Rio de Janeiro. And on this video, finally, you probably guessed by the title of the video, the time has finally come to talk about the independence of Brazil. Yes! Which I know for a fact that it's something that all of you look forward to hearing about. In the minds of lots of foreigners, it is actually the highlight of Brazilian history. God only knows why. And many of you have this notion that a country's history only begins at its independence. A lot of countries count how old they are from their independence, and I can't even begin to say how wrong that is in a lot of senses, but also historically. I've already mentioned this before, but I'm gonna mention it again. It's like saying that you were born on the day that you left your parents' houses to live by yourself, which is ludicrous. You weren't born on that day. It makes no sense, even though in many aspects it does feel like a rebirth, not enough to count your age from there. And a lot of you, when it was the 200th anniversary of Brazil's independence, commented on the occasion to the effect that Brazil is now 200 years old. No, absolutely not. Brazil is 522 years old. Brazil was officially born when it was discovered in 1500. We counted that way. And Brazil's birthday is on April 21st, 1500, not September 7th. September 7th is the independence. So it was the 200th anniversary of our independence. Let me make that quite clear. Before I get to the theme of the video, I have to remind you that I'm currently offering presential tours through the wonders of the wonderful city. Yes, and they are all listed on my website, which the link will be in the description box below, as well as in the first fixed comment. So you just go there. You can text me on WhatsApp. The link for my WhatsApp is right there as well. And make your reservations, and I'll be more than happy to guide you in person, showing you the wonders of the wonderful city myself. And now, without further ado, let's hop onto the actual theme of the video. So folks, this time we are starting right away with the slide presentation, because the starting point that triggered the whole process of Brazil's independence was none other than Dom João VI, remember him, going back to Portugal. Yes, as I mentioned before in the last video that I made before this one, Dom João VI was here ever since Napoleon was threatening to invade Portugal. He and the Portuguese court came here because of this. And he was just chilling over here, doing his thing, developing Brazil, especially culturally, all good things in life. However, the courts in Portugal that had stayed were pressuring him to come back to Portugal because, well, guess what? He was the king of Portugal. Portugal was the metropolis, not Brazil. Brazil was a mere colony in their eyes, even though rumor has it that he wanted to invert things and turn Brazil into the center of the Portuguese Empire. But of course, the Portuguese courts, later became the Portuguese parliament, wouldn't have any of that. So they sent him an ultimatum in the form of a letter, which demanded the following things: the immediate return of him and all of his family to Portugal, the forming of a constitutional monarchy in Portugal, and turning Brazil back into a colony with the guarantee of the Portuguese domain over Brazilian commerce. That Portugal would be, once again, the only country with which Brazil would be able to trade directly. What they were wanting was to throw away everything that Dom João VI had accomplished for Brazil and, put plain and simple, go back to the way things were before, with Brazil just being your colony. And of these three demands, I'm sure you've guessed that the one that did not sit well with the people of Brazil was precisely this last one. That was what pissed Brazilians off, including him and the royal family, of course. Imagine your country's parliament wanting to undo all of the good work that you did when you started ruling. Of course, you wouldn't like it one bit. This picture that I brought for you is precisely a representation of what was called the revolution of the city of Porto in Portugal, which happened in 1820. And Dom João VI finally caved to the pressures and left for Portugal in 1821.
Oh, so then he went back with his entire family as ordered, right?
Wrong. He went there, yes, with all of his family, except he left his son, Dom Pedro I, here in Brazil to govern alongside Princess Leopoldine, his wife, as Prince Regent of Brazil. He was a smart man. And also because, well, his son was obviously on his side. He didn't want to accept that load of BS that the Portuguese courts were demanding, so they were on the same page. Of course, the Portuguese courts did not like that at all, and they sent yet another ultimatum. And they responded by sending more Portuguese troops to Brazil, decreeing that all of the government institutions that were in Rio were to be transferred back to Portugal, and they demanded the immediate return of the Prince Regent, of Dom Pedro I, which is this young man that you can see right here in the picture. And this resulted in what is known in Brazilian history as the Stay Day, roughly translating from Portuguese, of course. In Portuguese, we say Dia do Fico, which happened in January 9th, 1822. And it was on this day that Dom Pedro I, as you can see on this painting here, stood at the balcony of the Paço Real at the time, and later Paço Imperial, which I have already shown you in previous videos, which to this day is a museum in the downtown area of Rio. So he said on the balcony to all of the population of Rio the following: "If it is for the good of everyone and the general happiness of the nation, I'm ready. Tell the people that I'm staying." So this is why Stay Day. But one thing that we can't forget when we are talking about the whole engineering of Brazil's independence is to talk about this man over here, which is none other than the patriarch of Brazil's independence, whose name is José Bonifácio de Andrade e Silva. So he was Dom Pedro I's main advisor, and he was a scientist and Brazilian politician who was born in the city of Santos, which is in the state of São Paulo. And when he was 20 years old, he went to study in Europe, as was custom with people of wealthy enough families, probably in Coimbra. And when he came back to Brazil, he became close with Dom João VI and Dom Pedro I, and even later, Dom Pedro I's son, Dom Pedro II. And they normally say that behind every great man, there is a great woman. And in the case of Dom Pedro I, behind him on the backstage, there was a great man and a great woman acting there behind the scenes. Kind of like me here in this channel, the part that you get to see, which is this one, me in front of the camera, put together. But there's also the backstage of this channel, which is me writing the texts and editing the videos and all of that, and preparing the PowerPoint slides. All of this part was the equivalent to what José Bonifácio de Andrade e Silva and Leopoldine, then Princess Leopoldine, not Empress just yet, were doing. While Dom Pedro I, he was in the spotlight, where I am right now, making this video for you guys. moving on, in the end of August of 1822, a new letter from Portugal arrived, which was responsible for Empress Leopoldine gathering the nobles that were in Brazil together, and she presided over that gathering, as a matter of fact. And in that gathering, it was decided that it was time that Brazil would be separated from Portugal. And the reason why she was presiding the meeting and not Dom Pedro I, who was the official Prince Regent, was because Dom Pedro I were traveling at the time. And once again, rumor has it that he was visiting his favorite mistress, which was called Domitila, the Marquis of Santos. But I will come back to this in a future video, so stay tuned. So as a result, Dom Pedro I, when he was traveling, he received at the banks of the Ipiranga River, which is in the state of São Paulo, several letters, one from Dom João VI, encouraging him to go ahead and do it. Another one from Empress Leopoldine, which in it was written the famous sentence, "My lord, the fruit is ripe, pick it now." And also another letter from José Bonifácio de Andrade Silva advising him to do basically the same thing. So then and there, of course, as you can see in this painting, the troops went there to meet him and give him the letter. And the first thing he told them was to remove the ribbons from their hats and their uniforms, which symbolized their submission to Portugal.
Soldiers, remove your ribbons.
And then it was then and there on September 7th, 1882, that, as you can see in this very picture, he took his sword from its sheath and said,
"By my honor and by my blood, independence or death."
Yes, independence or death. I'm sure this undoes with a lot of your notions of the Brazilian people, that we are very chill, that we are pacifists. Well, think again. As I always say, we are pacifists until we are messed with. So don't mess with us or you'll see what's coming. But other than that, the transition occurred in mostly a conservative manner and without great wars and revolutions and such. Well, at least to begin with, in this initial moment. Of course, later there were rebellions, there were, revolts, of course, and I will address that in future videos, naturally. What I'm saying is that the beginning was without revolt and all of that. And also, Brazil became, after that, an empire ruled by Emperor Dom Pedro I, this very man that you can see in the picture. And he was the one who composed the melody of the anthem of Brazil's independence, which I will, of course, leave a link of this anthem for you in the description box below as well, for those of you who may not know it. But as I said in the video which I made about historic flags, Brazil has 3 different official anthems. One of them is the national anthem itself that we sing normally in any solemn occasion, and you can just Google Brazil national anthem and you'll find it. The other one is the anthem of our independence, which is the one that I'm going to leave the link here, which is the anthem that we only sing on the day of the independence, which is September 7th. And the other one, which I sang the first 2 stanzas of it in the video that I made of the historic flags, which I will leave it in the cards above in case you want to see. That is the anthem in honor of our flag, which we sing it very, very, very rarely. This third one, I only sang it once when I was in school. So it's very rarely sung. Oh, and the lyrics of the Anthem of the Independence were by Evaristo da Veiga. And boy, what lyrics! I'll be sure to leave a link with the translation of the anthem in English so that you can follow it. But if I can't find it, I promise you I'll put the translation of the Anthem of Brazil's Independence also in the description box below. Anyways, the refrain of the anthem already brings with it this feeling of independence or death. Because basically it says either the motherland is free or we will die trying to make it free. It's a very passionate kind of an anthem. It really ignites this feeling of patriotism and passion and all of that. And another very interesting thing about Brazil, which I believe sets it apart from other countries, is that while other countries think of their countries as the fatherland, as a father figure, well, here in Brazil, it's the opposite. Our country, we think of it as a feminine figure, as a mother figure, the motherland. In fact, right in this anthem, the very first verses translating are the following. You may now, children of the motherland, see happily your gentle mother. And in my personal opinion, this is why, unlike so many other countries, Brazil has been able to welcome peoples of all over the world, and I will get to that future videos when I talk about the great immigration that took place here in the late 1800s and early 1900s. But basically, ever since Brazil was born, ever since 1500, we have been welcoming immigrants, refugees, and unwanted people from all over the world. And it's funny though that now regarding the United States, the Americans are very proud of having the Statue of Liberty saying, you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses yearning to be free. And now it escapes me. When was the Statue of Liberty built again? If you want to talk about it in the comment section, you're very welcome to. We were already welcoming the tired, the poor, the wretched refuse ever since 1500. Come on, that's nothing new for us. No wonder when we became independent, when we came into our own, our country was referred to as the motherland, as the gentle mother, because who better than a mother to welcome everyone, regardless of who you are, where you're from, whether they don't like you back home. Who other than the mother would do that? And also, it comes as no surprise that the Statue of Liberty is a woman. But I'm sorry, boys, but we women are more nurturing by nature. Another question that I must address in this video is the following. Every time I say that Brazil became independent, and once independent, Brazil became a monarchy, and on top of that, our very first ruler was the Crown Prince of Portugal, Dom Pedro I, which he was, I get looks from foreigners which go,
What? How come?
For starters, do we have to do the same as everybody else to begin with? And secondly, the actual reason for this was because Brazil's independence played out like a kind of divorce, in the words of an author, a very good author called Oliveira Lima. And it was a divorce between the Portuguese courts and the Portuguese royal family. I know what you're gonna say next.
So shame on you. The people were not included.
Wrong. They were included, so much so that this is why, as a matter of fact, Dom Pedro I was able to become the first emperor of Brazil, because he had the support of the Brazilians. Put plain and simple, because he mirrored the feelings that the Brazilians had against what the Portuguese courts were doing. He was just as dissatisfied as the Brazilian people were. So the feelings matched. Why wouldn't the Brazilian people support him? It's better to have a monarchy in which the emperor is aligned with the interests of the people than to have a republic, but it's a dictatorship. I'm no monarchist because I personally think that you risk a lot having a monarchy. You may well have an emperor which, like Dom Pedro I, is aligned with the interests of the people and thinks of the people before he thinks of himself. But you may very well have a monarch like Louis XIV of France. Screw the people, I am the state. L'état c'est moi. But if you have to choose between the alternatives that I mentioned earlier, I'm sure you'll agree with me. So, with this, I end this video about Brazil's independence, and I hope you liked it. And if you did like the video, if you aren't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and most important of all, share this video with as many people as you possibly can so that each time more people may know about the wonders of the wonderful city. And as usual in this channel, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!